It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Eastern Oregon's head softball coach, Coach Nicole Christian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college softball?
Yeah, my dad's a coach, and so he's always been following me around since I was little, and kind of just liked what he did for myself and my friends, being a part of just growing up in the coaching field, watching how he handled himself, and then, I think I was 18 when I first started coaching, and that was right out of high school. I played my first year. I was pretty young at college. I got to college at 17. And so right after my first year of playing college ball, the local travel ball team was like, "Hey, what are you doing in the summer?" Well, I'm 18 and I don't know yet. And they're like, "Do you want to coach?" And I'm like, "Heck yes, let's do it." And so I've kind of been coaching ever since I was 18, whether it's summer ball, high school, college, you name it. So right out of college, I was still obviously pretty young, graduating college, 21, 22, and I got the head coaching position and right out of Eastern. And so I stayed in LeGrand an extra 3 years, and it's just something that's been in my blood from my dad. I can't get away from it. I love it. And I always said, like, when I start having that passion for the game, it's probably time for me to step away.
What was that time like playing at Eastern Oregon as a player?
Yeah, game changing, I think. LeGrand's about an hour and a half from where I grew up. And so back in the day, I actually had more athletic scholarship offers to go play basketball. And softball just hadn't got to that peak of where, okay, we've got money to offer softball athletes. And so this town's only hour and a half from my family, and family is really important to me. And so when it came down to it, I chose to be closer to home, so my grandparents, my parents could watch, and that was like a big reason why I came here. It's beautiful. It's outdoors, mountains. I've grown up with my dad hunting, fishing, and these things are all in my backyard. And so coming here, being 17, 18, moving out of your house. I mean, I moved out at 17 in the summer, got my apartment with my friends, and we were ready to roll all summer and excited for softball at Eastern. And man, it was just one of those things where it made a impact on me. And I knew when I was here playing, my first 2 years was hard. We went through a lot of growth. And then my junior year, we got some key transfers in, and man, we were balling out. It was a ton of fun. We started getting recognized in the nation. We had one of the top teams. I think we placed fourth in the nation my junior year and fifth in the nation my senior year. And so just a ton of memories. I always said, like, when I was here, I could see myself retiring here. And so after I got done coaching, I was like, man, I think I would love to come back and try to get to Eastern someday and be the head coach, because I just had such a great experience as an athlete, and in the community, and just the welcoming environment, that I wanted to be back. And well, here I am.
As a player, what was that experience like putting on that jersey and representing Eastern Oregon?
It was something else, because I think when you look at it nowadays, a lot of athletes are in it for money. We were the only school at nationals that were playing on not athletic scholarship. And so I truly could look down the line and be like, we're all here for the same reason. We all love softball. We all want to be, make these memories together, and we're not getting paid. And everybody that we're facing is getting some kind of athletic scholarship. But at that time, our school just didn't have it to offer. And so I think that was like something that was pretty special at the time, that when we were at nationals of, I think it was 16 teams, we were the only team that wasn't there getting paid to play. And so I think just that moment set that in stone for us. And we just had a blast doing it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great memories, and a lot of great friends from those teams.
During your time as a player, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
I think I was Cascade Conference Player of the Year, or Athlete of the Year, excuse me, for the whole year. My junior year, All-American a couple times. Our team was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think in 2011, and then I was inducted into the Hall of Fame not long after. I was the first softball athlete to get inducted. And so, man, it was just a lot of great memories, being able to have fun. I think that was the big thing I take into my program this year, is that you can be good and still have a ton of fun playing softball. And so those are just some memories that I have from when I played, and some accomplishments.
For you as a player, what was that feeling like getting inducted into the Hall of Fame as a player, but also as a part of a team?
I think it was just like a self of, or a kind of a big purpose of, hey, we're setting the path for future athletes. Our team set a ton of records. When I first got here, I think softball had only maybe been in 1 or 2 years before I got here. And so everything that our team accomplished, it was just a stepping stone for future young women to come in and break those records. And it's funny because our team did have a ton of records, and now the girls that I'm coaching are breaking my teammates' records and my records. And so it's a whole whirlwind of events that it's just a special moment that I don't think you could really put words on it, what we were able to do as a team, and me as a player. And hopefully, I get to be here around, or I'm still around when my athletes start getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, because I've had some amazing athletes in my program these past 6 years.
As a coach, what does that feel like when you see your players breaking your records that you have set?
Ecstatic, because I'm very competitive. My coach is my boss, and I don't know if a lot of people know that. She is the athletic director and head basketball coach here at Eastern, and she was actually my coach when I played. And so I'm very competitive. I want to be better than fourth in the nation. I want to, I want to come in here and break these records that my team set. And so seeing my girls, get the run rule, or get stolen base records, and we got the most wins for a program. It's pretty awesome. It's a cool thing to see.
Before coming to Eastern Oregon, what was your time like at Blue Mountains College as the head coach?
That was kind of just a stepping stone for me, really. I had 2 years there. It was kind of my first environment into the recruiting aspect. Just getting players that you get to pick, I guess. Like, I've always been at the high school level where you're kind of dealt with the athletes you want. And so that was kind of the first 2 years where I got to kind of put together on paper, what kind of athletes do I want to build, and what kind of culture. And so it was a great stepping stone into furthering my career. It was cut short. I stepped away to finish my college degree and get my education after Blue Mountain. I still helped out at the high school for 3 years. And so it was just a little piece of 2 years and that experience to have under my belt, when I knew if I wanted to go to that 4 year, I'd have that. So it was a great stepping stone for me.
What was that feeling like for you, getting announced to become the next head coach at your alma mater?
A lot of emotions. I finally got there, and it was that time. I applied actually for I think 2 times before, but I didn't have a ton of experience in recruiting. I only had the Blue Mountain 2 years. They were kind of going through a pattern of different culture changes at the time, and so when I finally got it, I was jacked. I was excited. I was able to come in and be like, okay, I've been away for 10 plus years. I'm ready to roll. I know what I want to build here. Let's get to it.
What was that feeling like when you did get announced and got started at your alma mater?
I think the big thing was excitement. I wanted to meet the team. I know they probably had a lot of questions because I really only had 2 years experience at the JUCO level. Predominantly, most of my experience was at the high school. But I was jumping in. I think I got announced June, and I was out recruiting June. I don't think I had time to process it all. I was on the road recruiting. I got to see a lot of my alumni out. Their kids were playing, so it was just pretty awesome. But trying to find those I got to find coaching staff. I got to do all these kind of things. So it was a whirlwind of events that happened very quickly.
For you, what was that feeling like stepping back onto that softball field now as a head coach?
Man, just a lot of pride. Eastern Oregon is small, great community. Our saying is once a Mountie, always a Mountie. And that's true. I mean, there's alumni through our coaching staffs between all different sports here at Eastern. We are big supporters of each other. We text each other on game days. We go and support and watch them. And I don't think you get that a lot. And so just being able to come back and kind of incorporate that culture as a whole from a university, as well as bring that back to softball, and then just making it a winning program. That was awesome. That's always been my goal. When I first got back, we were kind of in the middle of the pack, and I don't like the middle of the pack. I want to lead, and so that was my goal. Is I need to find athletes. I need to find kids that want to win, but also win in the right way and just be great humans. And so that's kind of been our culture this whole time, is continuing that path and getting elite athletes that probably could play on at a D1, D2, but want to be a part of something great. And so it's been an awesome ride so far.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for Eastern Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, I think culture is key, and it's not easy. I think people overlook it, especially in women's sports. It can change in an instant. We talk about recruiting these kids and trying to build culture, and you get them on your campus for maybe 1 to 2 days if lucky, and then like sometimes they play a good front, and then they may not be that same kid that you thought you were recruiting. And so culture, I think, is just always changing. It's once you find those types of kids, it's easy. They play a big part. My athletes are my sellers of the program. Like they want to win. They can have fun doing it. Our dugout has props. We have so many. I mean, we have so many different props in our dugouts that they wear. They use. I feel like the kids nowadays need to have fun and enjoy it to get the best out of them. And I really try not to be too, I'm not that coach that's a big yeller and screamer. And so we make sure our athletes, when we're recruiting them, know that like this is kind of a laid back culture. We listen to music at practice. We expect a win, and there's that expectation of hard practices, but also just to be good humans. And the girls that we have right now are just, they're phenomenal. They're just amazing.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
Man, head coach, no sleep. I'm always recruiting. I mean, I'm always scouting the teams. I think game day is a little bit of a release because we did a lot of work to prep for game day. The girls get to have fun and performing. They go out there and get to show what they worked hard for all week. And I think that's been a big thing for us, is we try not to put the pressure on them during game day. Even if they make mistakes, everybody does it. We worry about making the second, third, and fourth. And so we try to allow the girls just to grow during the game as well if we do make a mental mistake. And just always, we talk about control what you can control, and that's ourselves and our attitude and our behaviors. And we may not always like the outcome of what an umpire does or an outcome of a play, but we can control how we react to that. And so our girls have done a great job playing on game day. We've got, they've got athletic training we get to the field 2 hours before. I think coaches were there 3 hours before, chalk and field, getting that stuff ready. They've got their athletic trainers they got to see. And so it's just little different things where they're getting set up for game day, and their game day Dutch, you name it. They've got all their little superstitions, that hair braided by whoever's going to braid their hair that game. So they have those little things they got to do, but they're usually to the field about 2.5 hours before game time. And then we get rolling at the 2 hour mark.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So right now we have 10 other teams. We've got Oregon Tech. They're number 2 in the nation. Southern Oregon, they're number 1 in the nation. College of Idaho, we just saw, they're number 20th in the nation. We've got Carroll College this weekend. They're a very tough team. I think they've got 8 wins so far in our conference. They'll be at the conference tournament. We've got University of British Columbia out of Canada in our conference. They've been receiving votes for top team in the nation. We've got Bushnell out of Eugene. We've got Providence, another team out of Montana. Carroll College is out of Montana. And then, gosh, I know I'm missing somebody. Corbin is out of Portland, and Warner Pack is out of Corbin's Salem, and Warner Pack is Portland.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Oregon Texas comes to home versus going to Southern Oregon?
Nothing beats sleeping in your own bed. That atmosphere that we get to come up fresh. No one wants to travel 9 hours. I mean, a lot of these conferences maybe have like an hour and a half. We have multiple trips that are 8+ hours to get to our conference tournament or conference teams. Being at home, we play at Peggy Anderson. She's why softball happened, and so we love playing at Peggy. She was a big contributor to softball at Eastern Oregon University and why it happened. And so playing on our home field, it's just that sense of pride. We talk about no one beats us at home. It's our field. No one comes here and we just take care of business. And that's what I think I love most is they're just so energetic to be at home. Versus going on the road, you have that, it's like a hostile environment. You're facing their fans and they're umpiring, and then add travel. It's a gauntlet that these girls have to do to play a 4-game series. You can't lose any or it reflects your rankings for nationals. And so we'll take playing at Peggy any day.
What is that atmosphere like getting to play a 4-game series against some of these teams?
Man, you can't hide. You got to come out, especially the teams battling for a spot for nationals and staying in our rankings. I feel like you get exposed. Like 1 and 2 games, you may see a team have a really great day, but back-to-back days, your true self comes out. And I feel like you get to see multiple pitchers, you get to see multiple hitters, you get a lot of game film. And so our conference is just a gauntlet from how tough it is. I mean, there is a reason why we're called the toughest conference in the nation. We've got 4 teams placed in the top 25 and a 5th one getting votes. And so it's consuming. You got to love the competition. And I think it just makes us better when it comes time for, the CCC tournament and nationals after playing the elite teams that we play.
As a head coach, how do you keep the momentum of your team when going into a 4-game stretch?
I think the big thing is trying to keep them fresh, healthy. It takes a toll on their bodies. We've been giving them Sunday, Monday off. We try to mix up practices. We do live hitting Tuesdays. We just changed up our defensive practice last week where we actually were separated and we just got a ton of reps in. So just giving those girls those confident days of practice going into competition. We're talking about doing some competition days and other events like my girls love the challenge pickleball, and they hacky sack, cornhole, you name it. And so last year we did like a little mini Olympic challenge where they got to draw their teammates and just having that fun where we're still having a competition day, but they're getting their brains off softball, because at the end of the day, that's all they're doing softball a lot. And so we try to keep them as fresh as possible and just give them some events, team building activities throughout the week, surprise them with the day off, or we're going to go do something as a team. You got to keep them on their toes, but also allow them to be just kids, because at the end of the day, they are kids. They're 18 to 21 and they're just starting life. And so they're dealing with a lot already.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach, what do you look at in them?
Basically, we get a ton of emails. When I first got here, I felt like, man, I got to go find these kids. And I think now with our success, if you looked at my phone, I have 200 unread messages and I have like 1,000 emails that I just am trying to chip away at. They're nonstop, anywhere from 25s to 29s, emailing us now. We're starting to get on social media more. And we're in a winning culture and people want to come play for us. And so now we're actually getting people wanting to come here. And so that's kind of nice. We're getting them on campus. We try to bring them in the fall or at the end of the springtime so they can meet the team, meet the coaches, be here for a weekend, see the community, let their parents, get a good feeling here. Because honestly, this is their second home, and we don't want these kids to come here and not feel safe, and their parents not feel safe leaving them here. And so we get them here, and we've already, gosh, I think we've signed 12 for next year already. Waiting for the 13th LOI. So yeah, we're rolling now. I'm not signing people late. I'm ahead of the game, which wasn't the case when I first started. So things are doing well for us.
As a head coach in alma mater, what is it like getting to see those freshmen putting on that uniform for the first time versus your seniors putting on that Eastern Oregon jersey for the last time?
Man, that's a tough question. Especially I think it's emotional. I mean, I've as you get older, you get emotional. Coaches, you can't lie, you do. You see these kids grow as athletes, and I think that's probably the shining part for me, is being able to see these kids come in wide-eyed and just, like little timid young women, and then they grow into mature women and they're ready to go take on the world. And I think that's not just in softball. I mean, it's our coaches always say, like, we want those wedding invitations. We want to be invited to our players, athletes, their family. And it doesn't always fit for everybody. Some people want more playing time, and that's just part of the game in any sense. But we really do try to do family atmosphere and family culture, and I think that's one thing we really try to stay by. And it is emotional. I've got 9 graduating this year. One of my players last year, I played with her mom. I've seen her since she was a baby. And so, like, ton of tears, had the sunglasses on. It's just hard. And this year I've got another girl, some of my girls that have been here 5 years with me. And it's like, they're my kid, like, I've been with them from day one. We've went through COVID. They've seen me grow as a coach. So it's very emotional, but it's so rewarding at the end.
What is that like, getting to see them going on and going into coaching afterwards or playing professional softball after?
It warms the heart. It's funny you asked that question, because I just got a text with 2 of my former players coaching against each other, and they send me a pic. And I've got former players here that stayed in the area. I have a lot of teachers that come and have jobs here, and now they're coaching here at the high school. And it's just we're doing something right if we get those pictures and those things where our kids are wanting to coach. That means they still have that passion, and that's what it's about. You don't want your athletes to leave here not loving the game anymore. And I feel like sometimes our athletes in this game do get a lot of that, and they don't get the experience. And so it's pretty rewarding when we get to see those pictures come through, that are alumni that are coaching. I'm like, hey, look, we saw each other, and they're alumni. But I would probably say we have at least 10 or 12 alumni that are coaching right now currently. So it's pretty awesome.
What have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far in your future plans and goals for the program?
Oh, man. I mean, when I first got here, I wanted to go back to nationals. It's a little different now. They have opening round and then final site. And when I played, it was just one site. And so my coaches and we want to be at that final 10. We want to continue to build on that legacy of Eastern Oregon softball as a top 10 team in the nation. And so we haven't been there in the 6 years yet. We've been to the championship game. So this team, I feel like out of all the teams I've had in the 6 years, this is an overall complete package team that we could be to that final 10 site. And I just want that for the girls. They work so hard over the year, grueling hours, 5 a.m. practices, snow, you name it. They work their tails off. And so, yeah, just being able to get us to that stage will be huge. That's the goal, is winning a national title. We call it the Red Banner. I want one of those red banners on our fence in my office. That's our goal at the end of the day. That's what we're shooting for.
What advice would you give for those freshmen entering their first year of college softball?
I think be outgoing, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I think that's probably the big thing. I don't know if a lot of times you just because you're a freshman you're scared to, but find your people, find the ones you love to hang around, enjoy the moment because it flies by.
What advice would you give those juniors transitioning into their senior year role?
Almost probably the same thing in regards to enjoy the ride. You're 1 year out. Make the most of it. I mean, we've had a lot of injuries, and so like that's kind of the injuries usually happen between that sophomore junior year. And so just being able to enjoy the moment, one play at a time, one game at a time. We talk about the small things, win the innings. That's our motto when we play. We're not looking at the end picture. If we take care of winning the innings, the outcome will be exactly what we want. And so, kind of the same thing in your college career. Can't be looking toward your senior year or worry about the future. Just enjoy the moment you're in.
What advice would you give those seniors that have aspirations of playing professional softball, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or overseas?
Man, just continue to grind, continue to get work in. It's a growing sport. And so I think for us, NAI softball doesn't get looked at a lot for that next level at pro. And there's not a lot of, I feel like there's not a lot of options for our girls unless you do it yourself. And so our athletes, they want to go on and play at that next level. They've got to be advocates for themselves. And so that's a big thing that, you want to go play, let's go find what we can look for as avenues of you reaching out and seeing what your options are.
What advice would you give those college softball players that are looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
It's always going to change. Be able to adapt and grow with your athletes. I think that's key. Not every single year that I've been here, it's a change. I've had to adjust the type of coaching. But most importantly, find yourself as a coach and who you want to be and what type of coach you want to be for your athletes.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program?
Find a good support staff. I think as a coach, I've got the best assistants that I could ask for. I'm not stressed. When I first started off, I always wondered, like, okay, are these assistants wanting my job? Like what kind of relationships, do I find with my coaches? And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I could pass on to coaches that were younger than me. Is, man, once you find the assistants that are all in it for the same cause that you are, it makes a difference. You don't stress about what they're doing. You trust them 100%. My dad helps me coach. I have 2 pitching coaches and I have an outfield coach, and I have some volunteer coaches that do roles, and it's just is less stress for us. But at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason, and that's been a blessing for me as well.
What advice would you give those coaches such as yourself that are looking to coach at their alma mater?
Keep good connections. Make sure that you have the right path and things in line for what you want to do with your alma mater. I mean, it's huge when you get there and now you're wearing the same name that you played for. Not everybody gets to do that. And I think just enjoy that moment when you do get a chance to go back to where it all happened.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the Eastern Oregon softball program?
Where can they find me at? Is that what, you can email me. My email is christin@eou.edu. We have Instagram at EOU softball. They have Twitter. We have Facebook. You can go on our eousports.com page. And we have all of our contact info on there. But yeah, like us on social media. We like all the followers. We try to post videos, hype videos, all that kind of stuff.
Thank you again, Coach Nicole Christian, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Eastern Oregon as the head softball coach.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Nicole, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.